the billionaire's shield. Humiliated and pregnant, she found protection in a stranger's arms. Now her vengeful ex wants her back. If you're here, get ready for a story that will grip you from the very first moment. Before we dive into this tale of betrayal and redemption, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep sharing incredible stories. The snow fell heavily on the crowded streets of London that night, blurring the neon lights and muffling the city's buzz. Sophia Hayes, 26 and 5 months pregnant, walked briskly down the sidewalk, clutching her thin coat around her swollen belly. Her breath came in short bursts, fogging in the icy air. She wasn't just walking fast. She was fleeing the man who once promised to protect her. Leo Maxwell, her ex-husband, was stalking a few feet behind. His voice cut through the wind. "Sophia, stop running! You know you can't avoid me forever!" Her heart pounded harder with every step. Sophia had sworn never to see him again after the night he left her, choosing money and freedom over their unborn child. But here he was, pursuing her, his tone full of authority, as if she still belonged to him. Fear prickled her skin. She tried to weave through the crowd, but Leo's shadow loomed closer. The panic was mounting. Sophia knew she couldn't let him corner her. He had a way of twisting words, of breaking her spirit, and making her doubt herself. Tonight, in the cold and chaos, she had no one to lean on. Her eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape, and then, in a desperate second, she acted on instinct. A tall man in a long black coat stood near the entrance of a bookstore, looking at his phone. His broad shoulders and calm posture seemed like a fortress in the midst of the storm. Without a second thought, Sophia ran toward him and wrapped her arms around him. "Please," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling. "Just play along." The man stiffened, surprised. But as Leo charged toward them, the stranger's expression changed in an instant. He wrapped an arm around her protectively, pulling her close as if she belonged to him. His gaze locked onto Leo's with silent authority. Leo froze, his eyes narrowing. "Who the hell is this?" The stranger didn't flinch. His deep voice carried weight, calm but firm. "Her husband? Is there a problem?" Sophia's knees almost buckled. "Husband?" She hadn't expected him to say that. Her heart raced even faster, but not just from fear. There was something solid, almost safe, in the stranger's presence. Leo scoffed, backing away, but not leaving. "Since when do you have a husband, Sophia?" His voice dripped with suspicion. "Don't lie to me, I know you too well." Sophia's lips parted, but no words came out. She tightened her fist on the man's coat, praying he would keep up the charade. The stranger's eyes softened briefly as he looked down at her, then returned to Leo with an unwavering stare. "You heard her. She's not interested in talking to you. Leave." The crowd, sensing the tension, stopped to watch. Sophia felt hundreds of eyes on her. Shame, fear, and a strange spark of hope twisted in her chest. Leo clenched his fists but finally turned, cursing as he walked away into the falling snow. Sophia sagged slightly against the stranger, overwhelmed with relief. She looked up to thank him, but before she could, she caught a glimpse of something in his eyes. Something powerful, hidden, but magnetic. Who was this man she had just thrown herself into the arms of? And why did his protective embrace feel like the start of something that could change everything? Do you think Sophia was right to trust a complete stranger? What would you have done in her shoes? Let us know in the comments. Part 2. The man who couldn't commit long before Sophia Hayes found herself clinging to a stranger in the snow. She once believed in fairy tales. At 22, she thought she had met her prince. Leo Maxwell was handsome, charming, and ambitious. He swept her off her feet with promises of an undying love. They married quickly, against her parents' cautious advice, because Sophia's heart told her Leo would never let her down. In the first few years, life was sweet. They lived in a modest apartment in Manchester, and though money was tight, Sophia didn't mind. She worked part-time at a clothing store while Leo bounced from one job to another, always dreaming of the big break that would make them rich. He told her he would take care of her, that she deserved the world. Sophia believed him, but slowly, the man she loved began to change. Leo's dreams turned into excuses. He stayed out late, came home smelling of alcohol, and spent money they didn't have. Sophia worked longer shifts, keeping their life afloat, while Leo chased pipe dreams. She prayed for things to get better, that he was just going through a rough patch. Then came the moment that shattered her world. Sophia discovered she was pregnant. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she told Leo, imagining they would finally build the family they once talked about. But instead of joy, she saw fear on his face. "A baby? Now?" he snapped. "Sophia, we can barely take care of ourselves." Her smile wavered. "Leo will figure it out. This could be what brings us together, what gives us purpose." But Leo didn't see it that way. In the following weeks, his temper worsened. He accused her of trapping him, of ruining his future. One night, after another heated argument, he slammed the door and didn't return until the next morning. Sophia tried to hold on, believing deep down that he would come to his senses. She cooked his favorite meals, softened her words, and even apologized when she had done nothing wrong. But Leo's heart had already turned cold. The final blow came on a rainy night. He confessed without guilt that he had been seeing another woman, someone older, richer, someone who could offer him opportunities. Sophia felt her chest sink as he shed their marriage like an old coat. "Don't make this harder than it is," Leo said, his eyes void of remorse. "You'll manage. You're strong. But me, I deserve more than this." And just like that, he was gone. Sophia's life fell apart overnight. She was pregnant, abandoned, and broke. Her friends distanced themselves, not knowing how to help. Her parents were gone, lost in a car accident years before. With no one to lean on, Sophia struggled in silence, forcing herself to get up each morning for the sake of her child. Yet no matter how hard she tried, Leo's shadow haunted her. And when she saw him again on that snowy London street, all the old pain came rushing back. The betrayal, the loneliness, the scars he left behind. But Sophia had no idea that the stranger who stepped between her and Leo was about to rewrite her story in a way she never could have imagined. If you were in Sophia's place, how would you have faced the loneliness and despair? What advice would you give her to keep going? Part 3. The notice on the door. The winter nights in Manchester were harsh, and inside her small, run-down apartment, Sophia Hayes wrapped herself in a thin blanket, listening to the wheezing of the old, barely functioning radiator. The room was dimly lit by a single lamp, its yellow glow revealing the cracked walls and water stains on the ceiling. This was her reality now, a life boiled down to survival. She placed a hand over her swollen belly and whispered softly, "It's just you and me, baby." Her voice broke as she tried to smile for the tiny life growing inside her. She had to be strong, even if every day felt heavier than the last. Money was always tight. Sophia's job at the clothing store barely covered rent, and most nights she skipped dinner to save enough for prenatal vitamins and baby supplies. She learned to live with the hunger, but not with the ache in her heart. Every time she passed a happy couple on the street or saw a father playing with his child, she felt the pain of what Leo had taken from her. Still, Sophia forced herself to keep going. She'd wake up at 5 a.m., trudge through the snow to catch the tube, and work long shifts on her feet. Customers would bark orders, managers would sigh with impatience, but she kept her head down. She needed the paycheck. She needed hope. When she came home, the loneliness hit hardest. The silence of the apartment echoed her own thoughts, and sometimes she would cry silently into her pillow so no one could hear her. She told herself she chose strength, that she didn't need anyone. But deep down, she longed for someone to hold her hand, to tell her everything would be okay. The stress began to take its toll. Some days, dizzy spells forced her to sit in the back room at work, and her co-workers would whisper about how pale she looked. Sophia ignored it, insisting she was fine. But inside, fear gnawed at her. What if she fainted? What if something happened to the baby and there was no one to help her? Yet even in her lowest moments, Sophia refused to give up. She remembered her parents' words before they passed. Sophia, no matter how dark life gets, there's always a way through. She held on to those words like a lifeline. One night, after a long day at the store, Sophia stopped at a small grocery. Her hands trembled as she counted her last few crumpled notes to buy milk and bread. The cashier gave her a pitiful look, but she forced a polite smile. Walking home through the snow, she held the grocery bag close, praying it wouldn't rip. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment, Sophia's heart sank. The hallway light flickered, and on her door was a bright red notice. "Final notice, rent overdue." Her stomach tightened. If she didn't pay soon, she'd be on the streets with a baby on the way. Sophia clutched the paper, her hands shaking. And in that moment of desperation, she whispered to herself, "I can't do this alone. But who could possibly help me now?" If you had to give Sophia advice right now, what would you tell her? Share your thoughts, and let's help Sophia on her journey. Part 4. The public humiliation. The bright red eviction notice still burned in Sophia's hands the next afternoon when a heavy knock shook her apartment door. At first she froze, assuming it was the landlord demanding rent. Her heart raced as she shoved the paper into a drawer. But when the knocking grew louder, heavier, almost aggressive, dread filled her chest. She opened the door only a crack, and her blood ran cold. Leo Maxwell was there, a twisted smile on his face, as if he had been waiting for this very moment. Snowflakes clung to his dark hair, and the scent of whiskey wafted off him as he leaned against the doorframe. "Well, well," he slurred. "Sophia Hayes, or should I say, Sophia the Abandoned. You didn't think you'd just slam a door in your husband's face, did you?" She gripped the doorknob. "You're not my husband anymore, Leo. You lost that right the day you walked out." Leo laughed, low and bitter. "You think a piece of paper changes everything? You think I don't know you still need me?" His eyes drifted toward her belly. "Carrying my kid as a reminder? You can't escape me, Sophia." Her throat tightened, but she stood her ground. "This child has nothing to do with you. You made your choice." Leo pushed the door open wider, entering without permission. He lowered his voice, with venom in every word. "Don't play the saint with me. You're broke, about to be evicted. How long before you come crawling back, begging for help?" Sophia backed away, her hand instinctively protecting her stomach. "Leave, Leo." But he didn't move. Instead, he laughed bitterly. "You really think you can raise this baby alone? You'll fall apart, Sophia. You've always needed me even when you pretended you didn't." He stepped closer, his tone sharpening. "And what about that coat-wearing stranger? Don't think I didn't notice. Clinging to him like he was your savior? Pathetic. Don't be ashamed." Her breath hitched. Leo had seen the moment in London, the desperate embrace that had saved her. The memory of the stranger's solid presence flashed in her mind, but she forced herself to stay silent. She couldn't let Leo sense her weakness. Mustering what little courage she had left, Sophia straightened her shoulders. "I'd rather be alone forever than let you poison my life again." For a brief second, anger blazed in his eyes, raw and dangerous. He stepped so close she could smell the alcohol on his breath. "Be careful, Sophia. You don't want to make an enemy of me, because when I want something, I take it back. And believe me." His lips curled into a cruel smile. "I always get what I want." With that, he slammed the door on his way out, his laughter echoing down the hallway. Sophia slid the bolt, her hands shaking uncontrollably. She slid down the door, tears burning her eyes, fear coursing through her veins. She whispered to her unborn child, her voice broken. "I won't let him take you from me. I swear I won't." But deep down, terror gnawed at her, because Leo hadn't just come back. He was watching, waiting, and plotting his next move. Part 5. The Billionaire's Promise. The city roared around her, but Sophia Hayes only heard the pounding of her own heart. Leo's sudden return had left her trembling for days, and tonight, as she walked down a busy London street after work, her nerves were on edge. Snowflakes swirled in the glow of the streetlights. People rushed by with shopping bags, and taxis honked impatiently. Yet in all the noise, Sophia felt hunted. She turned her head, and there he was. Leo. His tall figure was weaving through the crowd, following her with a predatory calm, his eyes fixed on her like a hawk stalking its prey. The whiskey-fueled threats from her apartment rang in her mind. She clutched her coat tighter and quickened her pace. "Sophia?" His voice rose above the chaos, sharp and commanding. "Don't you dare walk away from me." Her breath came in ragged gasps. She pushed past groups of strangers, but Leo's footsteps grew louder, closer. Panic tightened her chest. She knew he wouldn't stop until he had her cornered. And that's when it happened, her desperate moment of survival. Up ahead, a man stood outside a bookstore, his tall figure solid against the storm. He wore a long wool coat. His dark hair was dusted with snow, and he held a phone in his hand, reading something with complete concentration. To Sophia, he looked like a lifeline. Without a second thought, she ran forward and clung to him, wrapping her arms around him. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Please, just play along. Pretend you're with me." The man tensed, clearly taken by surprise. His phone slid into his pocket as he instinctively held her by the shoulders. His eyes, deep and penetrating, calmed her for an instant. Then, as Leo's voice boomed from the crowd again, his entire posture shifted. He rooted Sophia firmly by his side, his arm encircling her like a shield. His broad frame blocked Leo's path, and his voice was low but commanding. "She's with me. Is there a problem?" Leo stopped dead in his tracks, fury blazing in his eyes. "Who the hell are you?" he barked, his voice dripping with jealousy. "Since when does Sophia have a man?" Sophia's stomach twisted, fear and relief colliding inside her. The stranger hadn't hesitated. He had taken on the role without a second thought. Leo's gaze moved between them, suspicious and venomous. "You think you can hide behind some random guy, Sophia? You think this will scare me off?" The stranger's eyes didn't waver. His voice was firm, authoritative, and sharp as steel. "Leave!" The crowd around them began to stop, curious eyes fixed on the scene. Sophia's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she felt strangely safe. The man's presence was like a wall between her and the nightmare of her past. Leo clenched his fists at his sides, his jaw tightening. For a moment, Sophia thought he might lunge, but then he spat out curses under his breath and stormed off into the night, his threats hanging in the icy air. Sophia's body sagged with relief as she clung to the stranger's coat. She looked up at him, her lips parting to whisper a thank you. But as her eyes met his, she froze. There was something in his gaze. Power, calm, and something else she couldn't name. Who exactly was the man she had just dragged into her storm? And why was he looking at her as if this encounter was only the beginning? Part 6. The Unveiling. Sophia could barely control her breathing after Leo disappeared into the snowy night. Her body was still shaking as she clung to the stranger, her heart pounding so fast she thought it might burst. Slowly, she pulled away, embarrassed by her desperation. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her cheeks flushed. "I didn't know what else to do." He wouldn't stop following me. The man studied her for a long moment. His eyes were piercing, but not unkind, and though his expression was calm, there was a quiet strength in the way he held himself. Finally, he spoke in a steady, reassuring voice. "You don't have to apologize. No one should be forced to run like that." Sophia bit her lip, holding back tears. For the first time in months, someone hadn't judged her, scolded her, or walked away. Instead, this stranger, this man she had grabbed without thinking, had stepped in to protect her without hesitation. The cold wind whipped around them, and Sophia shivered. The man noticed and asked softly, "Do you live nearby? It's not safe to be out here alone, especially with him lurking." Sophia hesitated. She didn't know his name. She knew nothing about him, and yet there was something solid about his presence. Still, caution crept in. "I'll be fine. I just need to get home." He nodded slightly, not pressing the issue. "At least let me walk you part of the way, just in case." They walked in silence down the snowy streets, the city lights reflecting off the slushy puddles. Sophia felt a strange comfort in his quiet company, as if his calm was absorbing some of her fear. She stole a glance at him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with an air of quiet authority. There was something about him that didn't quite fit the image of an ordinary man on the street. When they reached a dimly lit corner near the tube station, a sudden sound cut through the air. Leo's voice. "Sophia." Her heart stopped. Leo had circled back, waiting for them. He emerged from the shadows, his smile sharp and cruel. "You didn't think you could get rid of me that easily, did you?" Sophia froze, panic gripping her. But before she could react, the stranger stepped forward, placing himself directly between her and Leo. His voice came out low, firm, and dangerous. "I told you to leave." Leo scoffed, stepping closer. "And who are you supposed to be? Her bodyguard?" The stranger's gaze hardened. "Call me what you want, but if you touch her, you'll regret it." Sophia's breath caught in her throat. The authority in his voice was unlike anything she had ever heard before. Calm, yet commanding, the kind of tone that left no room for doubt. Leo's bravado faltered under that stare. For a long moment, the tension grew thick in the air. Finally, he spat on the ground and muttered, "This isn't over." Then he stormed away once more, his threats hanging like smoke. Sophia's knees buckled, and the stranger caught her before she could fall. His arm was firm, his warmth seeping through her coat. She held onto his sleeve, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time, Sophia felt a spark of safety, a fragile hope she hadn't known in years. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. "I don't even know your name." And the stranger's reply would change everything. Part 7. The Billionaire's Name. The cold wind howled between the buildings, but Sophia barely noticed. She clung to the man's sleeve, still shaking from Leo's threats. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "I don't even know your name." The man looked down at her, his expression softening. "Marcus," he said simply. "Marcus Thorne." Sophia repeated it under her breath, almost as if she were testing the sound. It carried weight, though she couldn't say why. She nodded, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, Marcus. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't been there." Marcus didn't reply immediately. He studied her carefully, as if trying to read the hidden story behind her frightened eyes. "You don't have to thank me," he said finally. "But you should know that men like him don't stop easily. You have to be careful." Sophia sighed, exhaustion sinking into her bones. "I know, but I don't have the luxury of being careful. I'm just trying to survive." For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Snow crunched under their feet as they walked. Marcus seemed to hesitate before asking in a low voice, "Do you trust me enough to let me buy you a coffee? Just to get warm?" She wavered, wary of trusting someone again. Yet something in his quiet presence made her nod. Okay. They slipped into a small cafe tucked between office buildings. The warmth of the indoors wrapped around Sophia like a blanket. The scent of roasted beans filled the air. Marcus ordered 2 drinks without asking. Black coffee for him, and hot chocolate for her. When he placed the cup in front of her, Sophia blinked in surprise. "How did you know I don't drink coffee?" she asked. He gave her a small smile. "You seemed like you needed comfort, not caffeine." Her chest tightened. No one had noticed such things about her in a long time. As they sipped in silence, Sophia finally dared to truly study him. His tailored coat, the expensive watch peeking from his sleeve, the way people looked at him with a subtle recognition. He didn't fit the image of a random stranger. Something about Marcus screamed influence, control, and hidden power. She leaned forward cautiously. "Marcus, who are you, really?" He raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, men don't just step in like that without a reason. You carry yourself like someone used to being obeyed. And," she gestured subtly to his watch, "that doesn't look like something a bookstore goer wears." Marcus's smile faded into a thoughtful line. For a moment, his gaze drifted toward the snow outside. Then he spoke in a low but firm voice. "You're right. I'm not a simple stranger. My family owns Thorn Industries. I run it now." Sophia's eyes widened, her hands freezing around her cup. Thorn Industries. Even she, the woman struggling to pay rent, knew the name. A global empire, billions in revenue. You're a billionaire," she whispered, disbelief coloring her words. Marcus held her gaze. "That doesn't matter now. What matters is that you're in danger, and I'm not going to stand by and let that man torment you." Sophia's heart pounded, torn between disbelief and the fragile hope his words ignited. She had clung to him out of desperation, not knowing she had thrown herself into the arms of one of London's most powerful men. But what did it mean for her fragile, crumbling life that a billionaire had suddenly walked into it? Do you think Marcus's power will be enough to protect Sophia from Leo? Or will his wealth only make things more complicated? Let us know your opinion in the comments, and let's follow the story together. Part 8. The Price of Pride. The next day at the clothing store, Sophia tried to keep her head down, folding jeans and greeting customers with a forced smile. But the pain of judgment was everywhere. Some whispered as they passed. Others didn't even bother to whisper. "Isn't that the woman from the Post?" a customer muttered loudly. "Clinging to some rich guy while she's pregnant? What a disgrace." Sophia's throat tightened. She forced herself to keep working, but every word was a knife. Her manager pulled her aside at lunchtime, his tone concerned. "Sophia, I like you, I really do. But customers are complaining. Maybe it's best you take some time off until this blows over." Her heart sank. She needed every paycheck to survive, but she nodded weakly. "I understand." As she walked out of the store, her head bowed. The evening air chilled her face. She wanted to disappear. Leo had won. Her reputation was in tatters. She barely noticed a sleek black car pull up until the door opened, and Marcus stepped out. Heads turned immediately. Marcus Thorn was no ordinary man. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone used to commanding attention. His tailored suit, his serene expression, his very presence caused people to stop in their tracks. Sophia froze. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" she whispered. He didn't reply to her. Instead, he raised his voice for everyone on the busy street to hear him. "I want to make something very clear." The crowd went silent. Phones came out. Recording. Sophia's chest tightened as panic and confusion warred inside her. Marcus's gaze swept over the curious faces and then settled firmly on Sophia. "This woman," he said, his voice strong and unwavering, "is not what the rumors say. She is brave. She is strong. And she deserves respect." Murmurs spread through the onlookers. Sophia's eyes widened. Marcus wasn't just defending her. He was risking his reputation for her. He stepped closer, placing himself at her side. "Anyone who spreads lies about her is a coward. And let me assure you, those lies will not go unanswered." The whispers shifted, doubt replacing judgment. Some people lowered their phones, suddenly unsure. Sophia's heart pounded, tears threatening to spill. But then, from across the street, Leo's mocking laugh cut through the air. He walked forward, clapping slowly, his smile as sharp as a blade. "Touching, Marcus, very touching. But you don't know the real Sophia like I do." The crowd parted as Leo approached, relishing the attention. "She's a liar. She's manipulative. She trapped me with a baby I never wanted, and now she's clinging to you because you have money. Don't play the hero. She's not worth it." Sophia's face burned with shame. The world seemed to tilt. Leo's words rang louder than Marcus's defense, but Marcus didn't flinch. His voice cut through the noise like steel. "You're the liar here, Leo, and soon the whole world will know it." The murmurs erupted again. Leo's arrogant expression faltered, but his eyes hardened with fury. Sophia looked at Marcus, her heart pounding. For the first time, someone had publicly taken her side. But she also knew Leo, and he wouldn't let this go unanswered. Because Leo had just been challenged in front of the world, and his revenge would be ruthless. Don't let fear stop you. Like, subscribe, and comment your prediction for Leo's next move. Part 9. The breaking point. That night, Sophia Hayes lay awake in her small apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling. Marcus's public defense replayed in her mind like a dream. His words had been strong, powerful, almost enough to drown out Leo's poison. But the comments online told a different story. Leo had doubled down, twisting Marcus's support into another attack. His new post read, "Of course she has a billionaire covering her back. I guess money buys loyalty too. Open your eyes, people. Sophia is playing all of you." The flood of cruel comments hit Sophia like waves, each one pulling her deeper. "She's shameless. Gold digger. That poor baby doesn't stand a chance." Sophia clutched her phone until her hands shook, then threw it aside. She curled up on the sofa, sobs shaking her body. "Why won't he stop?" she whispered into the silence. The walls of the apartment seemed to close in on her. The bills were piled on the counter. The eviction notice still loomed, and exhaustion weighed on her pregnant body. She thought of her parents, how they used to tell her she was stronger than she knew. But tonight, she couldn't find that strength. She pressed her hand to her belly, guilt piercing her heart. "I'm so sorry, baby. I wanted to protect you, but I'm failing." The pressure inside her chest grew until she couldn't breathe. Panic gripped her, her vision blurred with dizziness. She stumbled to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Pale skin, swollen eyes, and a hollow sadness that seemed to be eating her alive. Her phone rang again. Another cruel message. Another reminder that Leo's lies were spreading faster than the truth ever could. Sophia sank to the floor, hugging her knees, whispering through tears, "Maybe I can't fight this. Maybe he already won." In that moment, her strength broke. She felt completely defeated, as if every ounce of fight had been drained from her. She pictured Leo smiling, satisfied, and the thought nearly split her in two. Hours later, she found herself standing by the window, staring out at the cold city lights. Snow floated lazily from the sky, dusting the streets. Somewhere out there, Marcus existed. Powerful, solid, unshakable. She thought of his words, his promise to stop Leo. For a brief moment, she wanted to believe him, but doubt whispered louder. Why would a billionaire truly care about someone like me? Tears blurred her vision again. Sophia pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, I'm a nobody. He'll realize that soon. As she finally collapsed into bed, exhaustion dragging her down, one thought consumed her. Maybe she couldn't escape Leo. Maybe no matter how far she ran, no matter who was by her side, her past would always poison her future. And Sophia had no idea that Leo's next move was already in motion, one that would push her to the breaking point and force Marcus to reveal just how far he was willing to go to protect her. Do you think Sophia will give up or find the strength to rise once more? Share your prediction, and don't forget to follow us to see the conclusion. Part 10. The Last Stand. The storm within Sophia Hayes' life reached its breaking point on a frigid winter night. She and Marcus sat quietly in his home by the coast, the crackling fire casting a soft light over the room. For the first time in months, she felt at peace. But deep down, she knew Leo would never let her go without one last fight. Her fear proved to be true. Leo returned to her world with a crashing, desperate recklessness. He showed up outside Marcus's estate, screaming her name into the darkness, his voice slurred with alcohol and rage. Security rushed to stop him, but Sophia stepped forward, her heart pounding. She knew this was it, the moment she had been running from for so long. Marcus tried to shield her, but she shook her head. No, I have to face him. She walked out into the freezing night, the snow crunching under her shoes. Leo's eyes were wild, his clothes disheveled, his pride hanging by a thread. You think you've won? He spat. You think you can erase me? I'm still that child's father. Sophia's breath hitched, but her voice came out strong. A father protects. A father loves. You abandoned us the moment you walked away. You no longer have a right to claim that title. Leo stumbled closer, his words sharp with venom. You were nothing without me. Nothing. And you'll be nothing again when he realizes what you are. He jabbed a finger at Marcus, who stood solid behind her. But Sophia didn't flinch. For the first time, she didn't shrink from his words. You're wrong, Leo. I was something before you, and I'll be something after you. You didn't break me. You made me stronger. The words hung in the freezing air. Leo's face twisted in fury, but the fight drained out of him as security finally moved in, pulling him back. He yelled curses, promises of revenge, but now they sounded empty. The world had seen his true face. His downfall was complete. Sophia stood tall, tears streaming down her cheeks, but they were no longer tears of fear. They were tears of liberation. The weight of years of pain finally lifted, making room for something new. Marcus stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her. His voice was soft but firm. It's over, Sophia. He can't hurt you anymore. Her body trembled as she leaned into him, whispering, For the first time, I believe it. In the weeks that followed, Leo disappeared from the headlines, his reputation in tatters, his life in ruins. Sophia, however, began to blossom. With Marcus's support, she found stability, but most importantly, she found herself again. She prepared for motherhood not with fear, but with hope. On a crisp spring morning, Sophia held her newborn daughter in her arms, tears of joy streaming down her face. Marcus sat by her side, his eyes filled with pride and love. You're not alone anymore, he whispered, kissing her forehead. Sophia looked at her baby, then at Marcus. For the first time, she saw not just survival, but a future. Bright, safe, and filled with love. Her story was no longer one of ruin, but of redemption. And as she cradled her daughter, Sophia knew the truth. She had faced the storm, and she had won. The story has finally come to an end, my dear friends. And if you're still with us, it means something in this journey touched your hearts. Sophia's story reminds us of an important truth. No matter how heavy the betrayal or suffering feels, we always have the power to overcome it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "Luck gives us the opportunity for virtue." And indeed, Sophia's hardships gave her the chance to show a strength she never knew she had. So let this story be your reminder. Storms don't last forever, and healing is always possible. If this message resonated with you, please like this video, share it with someone who might need a push, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of resilience and redemption. Together, we keep hope alive.